Socialist Alexandria Cortez hates tax breaks for Amazon's new headquarters in Queens. Remember, she hates tax breaks for the private sector, but she's all for the taxpayer paying for any free any free thing that her socialists like free student loans with no college accountability, free single payer with no government accountability. With me now is the Political Power Panel, columnist at The Hill. She is Kristin Tate, and Democrat strategist Kevin Walling. We love having you guys on. Kristin, your take on this, about this fight over Amazon.
Well, I mean, this has created some very interesting political bedfellows here, but these massive subsidies to one of the richest companies in the history of the world is crony capitalism at its finest. In New York, taxpayers will pay an average of $48,000 for each new Amazon job coming to Long Island City. In Virginia, the company is going to receive well over $500 million. $23 million of that is coming from the city of Arlington and will be funded through a hike in the local hotel tax. To be very clear, Arlington is raising taxes to pay Amazon. This is exactly how crony capitalism works. And note that last year, Amazon made $5.6 billion in profit and paid zero in federal income taxes. In fact, they received $137 million as a tax refund. But what really gets me about this, Liz, is how the same left-wing media companies that said, people were going to die from Trump's tax breaks are now being relatively silent on these subsidies to Amazon. It doesn't hurt, of course, that Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, but man, the hypocrisy is flagrant.
Kevin, to Kristin's point, here's the thing, why don't Democrats get it that when you lower the overall tax rate structure, as in Florida, Texas, even Ireland, you attract people, you attract businesses? I mean, I get it. This could be maybe a rookie Democrat mistake in trying to create jobs and overpaying, but they really seem like they gave away the store. Why not just lower the rates overall, flatten them?
Yeah, Liz, it's a great point, and Kristin makes some excellent points in terms of the statistics there. I think, any day in America that you have Tucker Carlson agreeing with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on these giveaways is an interesting day in America. I think there's a lot of frustration in those 237 cities that submitted proposals that weren't chosen, cities like Pittsburgh, Detroit, Baltimore, Charlotte, where these kinds of investments would have made a big difference. These two cities are on the coasts. One is our financial capital. One is the capital of our country. And I think there's a lot of frustration out there based on these decisions to go to these two places.
To Kevin's point, Kristin, it's a good one. Upstate New York taxpayers, right? They get hit by increased taxes. Yep. We get it. We understand that there's a putative $4 billion in potential economic growth coming into the New York City region from Amazon over the next 10 years, that this is a big whopping down payment for that growth. But we saw one Cuomo aide, now a state senator, Kristin, equating the Amazon tax breaks to a bribe, and new figures coming out that Amazon may rake in $4.6 billion overall from Virginia and New York. That's a lot of money. It's way more than its 2017 net profit, Kristin.
It's so frustrating. If capitalism had played out here, Amazon probably would have chosen other locations, like in Texas or Oklahoma, places with favorable tax structures, lower taxes, lower regulation, but that's not what happened. They chose places also that already have horrible traffic congestion, high housing prices, bad income disparity. These problems are just going to get worse now. Look at New York. I mean, the politicians there say there's not enough money to fix the crumbling subway system, yet somehow they're able to scrounge together $1.5 billion to give to Amazon. It's just, it's mind-blowing to me. The question the politicians should have asked is, does this benefit our current constituents? The answer is no.
And Kristin makes a good point, Kevin, because we just, great point, Kristin, because Kevin, Kristin's right, because we just felt here in New York City with that massive snowstorm that hit us, what it was like to have our transit system fail, and the housing complex here, the housing development here, tens of billions of dollars in the red, Kevin.
Yeah, Liz, you're absolutely correct. I mean, I was in New York City last night trying to get home to D.C., and it was a nightmare. And to Kristin's point, we have some of the most congested roads in around Long Island and New York and in around Arlington and D.C. I am hopeful that maybe some good will come out of this and that it'll shine a light on this cronyism that Kristin talks about, where and Republicans and Democrats are to blame in terms of big city mayors, in terms of governors of states. Maryland was willing to put up $9.5 billion Governor Larry Hogan, a Republican and a Democratic mayor of Baltimore, to bring Amazon headquarters to Baltimore. So hopefully it will shine a light on this, and it will reprioritize how we attract businesses and what's the trade-off.
Kristin and Kevin, you'll be back with us later in the show. Great stuff there. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
so
Liz.
much. Coming up, the death toll from those Welcome back. President Trump telling Fox News that the White House is writing new rules of conduct now that a judge ruled that the administration must give CNN's Jim Acosta White House access. Now, this was on Fifth Amendment due process grounds. Let's take a listen. Watch.
You know, you can't keep asking questions. We had a lot of reporters in that room, many reporters in that room, and they were unable to ask questions because this guy gets up and starts, you know, doing what he's supposed to be doing for him and for CNN, and, you know, just shouting out questions and making statements, too. But I will say this, look, nobody believes in the First Amendment more than I do. And if I think somebody's acting out of sorts, I will leave. I'll say, thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate you coming, and I'll leave. And those reporters will not be too friendly to whoever it is that's acting up.
Kristin Tate and Kevin Walling back with us now. Kristin, what's your reaction?
As we just heard, Trump threatened to just end the press conferences if Jim Acosta starts acting out. This is a bad idea. It gives way too much power to Jim Acosta. These are the White House's press briefings, not Jim Acosta, and the White House needs to take control of the situation. I agree with CNN that you can't just throw people out of the briefings, but the White House must come up with very clear, predetermined rules of decorum for reporters. Then if the reporters break those rules, you can throw them out. And the rules can be simple. For example, if the president calls on a reporter, whoever asked the previous question must stop talking. Solve all the problems right there.
You know, Kevin, the problem is when reporters get emotionally involved in a story. That's what critics are saying, too. Emotions block them from asking all the questions they could if they were dispassionate. It becomes about advocacy instead, and personalities inserting themselves in the story, and then they become the news.
Liz, I completely agree in terms of, and Kristin makes some great points. You know, whenever the reporter becomes a story, that's not a good thing. Listen, it was a victory, and I know it's a victory because Donald Trump is downplaying it. If he wasn't, then that would be something different. But I think one of the unique things to come out of this is the solidarity among the White House press corps. You know, Kristin made a great point at the outset in terms of the ruling that came down, but the fact that Fox News joined with CNN on this effort to challenge this ruling by the White House. I think there's clear instructions now to the White House to provide a clear understanding of how these press conferences should go. But it was a violation of due process. It wasn't an argument ruled on First Amendment, as you rightly point out, Liz. So the process is still playing out.
Kristin, the issue is that critics are saying Jim Acosta was berating the president, that he was behaving inappropriately. What's your take on that?
Of course he was. The problem is that the cameras in the room incentivize reporters like Jim Acosta to make themselves famous. Acosta's goal is not to ask Trump questions to get information. It's to debate with Trump. He continuously takes contrarian point of views to sort of bait the president into having a certain response. These press briefings are supposed to provide valuable information to the public. Jim Acosta is wasting everyone's time. So if this behavior continues after they roll out the rules, he doesn't deserve to be at these briefings.
Kevin, your final word.
Yeah, I mean, Kristin makes a good point. You know, I think it's more of a heated back and forth and trying to get at the truth. We know this president sometimes struggles with the truth, as we've seen in previous press conferences and statements. But, of course, decorum should rule in the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's against asking tough questions. It's about decorum, to your point, Kevin and Kristin. You guys have been great. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. Good stuff tonight. Come
Thanks,
back
Liz.
soon,
have a great
both
weekend.
Of you.